I'll call the meeting to order. My name is Dan English. I'm the council president and get to sit in for Woody tonight. So would you call the roll, please?
Wood.
Here.
Gookin.
Yes.
Evans.
Here.
Miller.
Here. And our
Gonna have some fun.
and our invocation tonight is from David Bond from Compel Church, and I'll ask you to rise. If there was ever a time that we can use some good words and just kind of take a moment to consider the state of the world and everything, this is it. So I more than ever appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.
Absolutely. My
Okay.
pleasure. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, we bow our heads before you tonight in humility and reverence. We acknowledge alone that you alone are sovereign over our lives, our city, and our nation. Lord, and we come carrying a heavy burden for our country as we grieve the tragic death of a prominent young man who was a husband, a father, a son, a visionary, and a man of God. Lord, we ask that you would comfort his family, his friends, and all those who mourn his loss. May your presence be near to those whose hearts are broken, and may you bring peace where there is confusion and hope where there is despair. Father, we acknowledge and confess that our nation feels deeply divided. Comments and rhetoric has fueled anger instead of reconciliation, hostility instead of compassion. So tonight we ask you bring your healing across this land. Where there is hatred, sow love. Where there is fear, bring courage. Where there is division, create unity. Help us to see one another not as enemies, but as neighbors, and not as rivals, but as fellow human beings created in your image, and to leave this place better than we found it. And Lord, now as we turn our hearts to the business of this evening, I lift up this council before you. These leaders carry a sacred responsibility as they serve the people of this city. I ask you grant them wisdom that goes beyond human understanding, and wisdom that discerns what is right and just, even when the decisions are difficult. Father, I ask you give them clarity of thought as they weigh the matters set before them. May they be guided by truth, integrity, and a genuine desire for the good of every resident. Lord, I pray for their protection as well. Safeguard them and their families. In a time when leadership often attracts criticism, misunderstanding, and even hostility, I ask that you shield them from harm and surround them with your peace. Strengthen their resolve to lead with courage, even when the decisions they make are not popular. Father, I ask that you grant them unity. Though they may come from different perspectives and carry different convictions, may they find common ground for the sake of the people they represent. Help them to listen well, to speak with respect, and seek solutions that bless this community. And as they lead, Lord, may they always remember the people who are most vulnerable. Families who struggle, children who need opportunity, elderly who long for dignity, and the voiceless who need advocates. May this council serve with compassion, not forgetting that the measure of good leadership is how it cares for the least among us. Lord, I ask for direction as a city. The challenges are complex and the path is not always clear, but you are the God who promises to guide our steps. So tonight, illuminate the way forward. Let your wisdom be their compass, let your truth be their foundation, and let your spirit be their strength. And finally, Lord, may everything said and done in this place tonight bring honor to you and be a blessing to the people of this beautiful city. We love you, Lord, and pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Appreciate that. And Kiki, would you lead us in the pledge? Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I don't think we have any amendments to the agenda. Doesn't look like, so that's good. And then we have a presentation for Suicide Prevention Month, and I will be reading this, and I would encourage people to, go on to our website or the organizations that get mentioned here, because it's more lengthy than what I'm going to read now and all the organizations that are part of it. But I will say, from my personal experience from, in different capacity with family members and, as a helping professional, I've unfortunately been in the situation where we've had somebody who accomplished suicide, and other folks who have tried. And what I would hope you would take away from all of this is that, on one hand, it's an incredibly heartbreaking thing that can happen to a family and a community, and the people left behind, or the people dealing with it, that have attempted. On the other hand, I found that it actually doesn't take too much to divert that. If you get somebody when they're in that really intense time, if you can just help them for a short period of time, actually sometimes that can be the time, the couple hours that averts a crisis. And so there is help out there, and we just need to be aware. So I'm glad to be a part of just creating that awareness and giving people some hope, because that's really what it comes down to. A lot of times people who make that decision feel like there's no hope, and we all have an obligation to be out there and give them a sense that there is some hope. So I will read, I'm going to summarize some of the proclamation and then have a few folks to come up and say a few words about it. So, whereas suicide remains the 11th leading cause of death in the United States, the second leading cause among individuals aged 10 to 34, specifically ages 10 to 14, 25 to 34, those are some tough numbers. The third leading cause for ages 15 to 24, and the fourth leading cause among ages 35 to 42. Whereas in 2023, more than 49,000 people in the United States died by suicide, one life lost every 11 minutes. Whereas suicide rates rose 37% between 2000 and 2018, declined slightly between 2018 and 20, but returned to the peak levels in 2023, whereas in 2023, an estimated 12.8 million adults seriously considered suicide, 3.7 million made a plan, and 1.5 million people attempted suicide. And again, it goes on and has some other points and number of agencies that are involved, so I encourage you to take a look at the full resolution. Now, therefore, it be resolved that we, 1, recognize suicide as a preventable public health issue and declare suicide prevention a priority. 2, acknowledge that no single prevention program or approach fits all populations or communities. 3, address disparities in access to mental care for underrepresented groups. 4, support culturally informed, evidence-based mental health care and expand research funding. 5, encourage alignment with the 2024 National Strategy for Suicide Prevention and the 2023 Idaho Suicide Prevention Plan. 6, promote awareness that suicide has no single cause and often occurs when stressors exceed coping abilities amid mental health struggles. And 7, expand and strengthen access to quality mental health, substance use, and suicide prevention services. Now, therefore, I, Dan English, on behalf of Woody McEvers, Mayor of the City of Coeur d'Alene, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2025 as National Suicide Prevention Month in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and encourage all citizens to work together to raise awareness, reduce stigma, support those in crisis, and again, bring hope to our community. So now I'm going to present the proclamation to Jeanette Lassiter and Alicia Keller, who I believe have a few things to say, but I'll give you the...
Dan.
Good evening, Mayor McEvers, City Council staff, and community members. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening, and we are honored and grateful to accept this proclamation for Suicide Prevention Month. We want to take a moment to pause and acknowledge the challenges that so many individuals and families in our community are facing. Suicide touches all of us. It is not just a statistic, but a deeply personal tragedy that affects friends, families, and neighbors. Since January 2025 through August of 2025, there have been 31 lives lost to suicide in Kootenai County, and that includes 4 youth under the age of 24. Each of these represents a person who was valued and loved, and their absence is felt deeply in our community. But even in the midst of this loss, we want to emphasize hope, and I always say with a capital H. There are people who care and who are ready to listen and respond in times of crisis. You are not alone. Together, as a community, we can stand alongside those who are struggling and remind one another that help is available.
For students, it is important to remember that there are trusted adults that you can turn to, whether it's a teacher, a school counselor, a loved one, faith leader, or a school resource officer. Please know that it's okay to reach out and share what you're going through. Someone is there to listen and help you find the support you need. If you or someone you know is experiencing thoughts of suicide, please know that support is just a phone call away. 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, available 24/7, connecting you with trained crisis counselors. There are also local resources and support groups that are also available through Panhandle Health District, NAMI, Mobile Crisis Response Team, the Human Rights Education Institute, and other community partners. We encourage you to reach out, talk to one another, and continue to support friends, family, and neighbors with compassion. Hope and healing are possible, and together we can help make sure no one has to face a crisis alone. Thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you. Thank you. And I have 3 people signed up for public comment, and this is a good part of the evening where people get to come and say what's on their mind. So Merrill is first.
Hi.
If you just say your name and where you live. And
Yes, my name is Mary Merrill. I am a resident of Oak Crest Manufactured Home Park. I have addressed the City Council several times, including the Planning Department. I am a resident. I have been there now for, I believe it's 4.5 years. In the 4.5 years that I've lived there, 3 of those years, no irrigation was happening on the outside of the park, along the public right-of-way, along Ramsey, nor has there been irrigation happening inside the park on the inside of the fence. only private lots have been irrigated. The highly flammable Arva vitae that are outside of the park along Ramsey are very dry. Many of them have already died. My concern is a fire hazard, safety within the park, because once those trees are cut down, if they are cut down, the fence is not solid across there. So there is going to be gaps along Ramsey, along those fences, when, if and when, the trees are removed. So I have concerns about that. The lack of irrigation in the park, which has been, as I said, 3 years. I have checked the water bills. No water has been used in irrigation for 3 years. It reduces our personal property values as residents. And again, the security of the residents will be compromised if and when those dead trees are removed. Lastly, I would like to ask the council to please be mindful if indeed Haven Park, the owner of Oak Crest Manufactured Park, comes to you or planning and zoning requesting a change of zoning. We, the residents, really want to know if you or the county has approached to change the zoning of our park. Thank you.
Mr.
Mayor
Mayor Pro Tem.
Sure,
Can I
yes,
ask a
yes,
question?
yeah.
Well, I don't know if we could refer her to staff for follow-up, but I'm
Sure.
just curious, is that something, we have the water guy here tonight and our park director. I don't mean to call you water guy, director. Who owns the property?
Right away.
Yeah, if somebody would address that, I understand it's kind of a short meeting, so let's hear, yeah, go ahead. Because the dry conditions are concerned if
Ultimately,
it's
it's
public right
private
away.
property. They have 2 meters that serve the lot. The property owner can irrigate or not irrigate at their disclosure or need. So we don't tell anybody they have to irrigate. We don't tell anybody they don't have to irrigate.
Okay, and the trees, is it trees in the public right away that, or I don't know? Okay,
Those trees are up along the fence, so they are not in our right of way. I mean, she was
Okay.
using the word park is about their facility and not our parks.
yeah, and, okay, well, just that this is something we will, yeah, I think that's a good message. Anything if there's any message we can send on to them, because, I read in the paper where we are in extreme drought conditions, dry, so we really have to be concerned. So I appreciate you bringing that. So, and then Brianna King.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brianna King, and I'm a resident of Coeur d'Alene. I'm here because 115th Northwest Boulevard, the former building of North Idaho Museum, is scheduled for demolition. With it, we lose not only a historic building, but also a financial and cultural opportunity for our community. Turning this site into more park space may seem appealing, but it does not create long-term value. The city has often expressed concern about limited funds, and yet demolishing this building eliminates the chance for it to generate sustainable revenue. Preserved and repurposed, the building could be leased to a nonprofit children's museum, producing steady rental income to the city. Beyond rent, a children's museum would bring year-round visitors, boost local spending, and increase sales tax revenue, helping strengthen the city's financial position far more than seasonal park land ever could. Right now, Coeur d'Alene is heavily seasonal. In the off-season, families leave town to find indoor activities, often going to Spokane's Children's Museum and spending their money there. By creating one here, we not only keep those dollars local, but we also attract families from surrounding areas. That means more hotel stays, more restaurant traffic, and more consistent tax revenue for the city. This is not just a community service, it's a sound financial strategy, and there is already strong community support. I created a petition on change.org, and the signatures are growing very quickly. People don't want this building torn down. They want it to be preserved and put to work for the community. I respectfully ask the council to pause the demolition and work with me to turn this building into a lasting asset. A children's museum would preserve history and bring year-round spending to Coeur d'Alene and create educational opportunities for families, school field trips, and after-school programming. Finally, I want to remind you of our city's vision statement. Our vision of Coeur d'Alene is of a beautiful, safe city that promotes high quality of life and sound economy through excellence in government. A children's museum fulfills that vision. It adds beauty and character, provides a safe and enriching space for families, improves quality of life, and strengthens the economy by keeping dollars local. Demolishing this building and calling it finished does not create a sound economy or reflect excellence in government. Excellence means protecting the assets we already have and turning them into greater assets for the future. And so that's the choice before you tonight. I'm asking for the opportunity to, I'm asking for your guys' help to pause demolition and to bring this to our community, a children's museum. Thanks. Thank you for your time.
And I'll just give a little feedback. I mean, we are very mindful of, all of the buildings and in terms of the potential uses, and we've bounced around different things. I will say that actually I'm very acquainted. I spent some of the best years of my youth when I worked at the co-op gas station back there. And, so it was a gas station, so it's not the most, solid, building and all of that. And we've gotten feedback before about, what it would take to make it workable. Now, one thing I'll just say, speaking for myself, I'm of the mind that sometimes with some of the buildings like that, when I hear something like, well, it would cost as much to remodel that to be up to code and everything as it would for a new one, part of my response at times is, well, if it's only as much as a new one, I'd much rather have the old one that's restored. And so I guess just to get, immediate feedback is that that's something we won't be doing lightly, and we'll go for the best use we can, balancing with the resources for the city. But I mean, the Children's Museum idea sounds great. I'm sure there are other ones. But anyway, I appreciate your comments. So.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Oh,
if
sure.
I could, Brianna,
Comment, sure.
you mentioned that there was something people could sign up for on change.org. Do you have any more details on how they would be able to get to your petition?
Yeah, you just go to, I've shared it on multiple Facebook groups and Reddit, Strings for Coeur d'Alene, and you can just go to change.org, and I'm sure you can type in Coeur d'Alene, and it's along those options. It just saved this historic building.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and as I recall, there have been occasions where people have gotten together and had an interest, and we've listened. So,
I'm allergic
okay.
to you.
And then Ted Turrentine, our final. Okay.
Hello again, Council.
Hello.
My name is Ted Turrentine from Coeur d'Alene. In regards to the fact that compensations provided to city employees, firefighters, and police officers are a large part of the city's expenditures within its labor contracts. I just had a few comments about your last city council meeting. I think it might have been Council Member Gabriel that brought up the fact that the city and fire and police employees should be well compensated in order to obtain the best employees. I would submit that there are many city homeowners, like I would say the majority of folks everywhere, who cannot afford the best of everything that we need or want to purchase, and that includes CDA government employee compensations paid for by us with our tax dollars. We make do with less perfect products and services as our budget allows, as we do not have the power to create more money for ourselves, as does the city, by taxing our neighbors. If the very best compensation possible is the only motivation for someone seeking a job, I would submit that they would not be the best employees anyway. I would hope that in future labor negotiations would be approached by you all with these facts in mind. Sorry about that. If we have to be, if our family has to be served by firefighters, police, and emergency personnel and city employees who are somewhat less than the best in some areas, so be it, if it means not being taxed out of our homes. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, well, that's all of the public comments we had signed up. And any city council announcement? Okay, well, I see.
Amy had her hand up first, so.
Okay, go ahead. Yep.
I just want to take this opportunity to invite the community to the 29th Annual Coeur d'Alene Arts Awards. This is presented by the City of Coeur d'Alene's Arts Commission, and it's a fun night of various presentations recognizing contributors to our community art programs. It is Wednesday, October 22nd at 5:30 at the Hagedon Event Center, and you can find more information on the city's website. But it's a great, fun, free event to celebrate art in our community.
Great. And
Mr.
Dan,
President,
okay.
thank you. So Brianna was talking about the old museum building at 115 Northwest Boulevard, and I had some questions for Troy. And I appreciate her passion, but I know that we've been informed of other aspects of the building, and I thought we could share that with the public. So it's scheduled for demolition, I guess, soon. Is it scheduled? So we're knocking it down?
Yes, we have taken all of the utilities away from that building, and it is set up to be remediated with any asbestos that's in there. Firefighters are using it right now to train in, and we plan on taking it down with city staff in March, weather permitting.
But could you, and you've informed us, but can you tell the public just kind of what condition the building was in that led to this decision?
The building was uninhabitable due to mold after the roof had let loose. We did our best to keep it operational. Mold is very bad for humans, and thus we condemned the building on that front. We did partner up with North Idaho College and had their maintenance people walk through it because education would be proper for the way in which the city received that land. The cost to remediate just the mold, a new roof, and all HVAC was greater than any type of return on investment when you look at the total cost. There's not many windows in that building, so there's been a fair amount of engineering as well. I've got a Mayor Pro Tem that spent hours inside the building. And so, yes, we gave it a really good look, a thorough analysis for the what-ifs, but it is well past its prime.
And I know that, I appreciate that, thank you, and I know that according to our Four Corners master plan, that's not going to be a park, it's a parking lot if we follow the plan. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. But I do appreciate her passion, and we'll see what comes out of that given the condition of the building. I guess if they wanted to approach council with a bunch of money and keep the thing around, that would be up to us. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Or, and now the mayor's comments, and I don't have any. So consent calendar, would entertain a motion for?
Councilmember English, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented, including resolution number 25-048.
Second.
With a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Evans?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Gookin?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
And then the motion passes, okay. So, and in the next business, resolution 25049, approving easement agreement between Area Mill 13 Spring Development LLC and City for fire access, stormwater maintenance in the Atlas Waterfront Area 13, and the construction of improvements in Atlas Waterfront Park. And so Hillary with a staff report. Thanks.
Okay, great. Mike, can you stop the clock from running in the sound booth,
Yeah.
please?
Coming up at odd
Well.
times.
No? Okay, all right. Anyway, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. I am going to be co-presenting this item with our Parks and Recreation Director, Bill Greenwood, and Dean Pape, who's with DeChase Mixis, the developer for Atlas Area 13, who's also a managing partner with
Great.
Atlas Mill 13 Springs Development. So I'll go ahead and start and then have them come up and share the presentation. Oh, no, that didn't work very well. Okay. Got the new features on PowerPoint where if you click the wrong things, it zooms in. So decision point before you
back
this
to the-
evening is, should council approve a substitute grant of easement for Atlas Waterfront Area 13 for fire access and stormwater utility access, removing the pedestrian promenade and public access, and approve a new easement agreement for pedestrian and non-motorized access, landscaping improvements, and other public amenities within the adjacent Atlas Waterfront Park. So a little bit of background for you. At the regular meeting of the City Council on December 5th, 2023, City Council approved a conveyance of 7,760 square feet, which is 0.178 acres, located adjacent to and along the eastern property line of Atlas Waterfront Area 13 and along the western edge of Atlas Waterfront Park. And the property was to be conveyed from City of Coeur to Ignite CDA. That conveyance of the 30-foot strip of property was necessary to make the development of Area 13 more feasible for the developers and to enable the pending sale to a third party to close. And so that is DeChase Mixis that ended up purchasing that property. So as part of that conveyance of land, there was a perpetual easement that was put in place that allowed for fire access, stormwater utilities, as well as a pedestrian promenade and non-motorized access that would be between the park and Area 13. It would be on Area 13. So that was recorded on December 7th, 2023. And as I mentioned, that property was sold. So I'll give you a little bit of a close-up here. This is Atlas Waterfront as it's being developed. So Area 13 is here, this triangle area next to the park. So this is an exhibit showing the 2023 easement, which is here, that 30-foot strip of property on the east side of the Area 13 parcel. And this is basically kind of the new concept that we're going to be describing to you this evening. So this again is Area 13, and then the parcel line is here. And so this is part of city property. And here is an exhibit showing the new easement area within the city park. Here is a little bit more detail. So let me ask if we can have Bill and Dean come up and provide a little bit more description on kind of what this concept contains. Kind of, we worked through with DeChase Mixis and trying to figure out how we can make their project a little bit more viable in terms of access to the development. It really turned out that they needed to have access from this side of the property versus on the northwest corner. And so that was a concern for the city staff in particular, that we didn't think it was really in line with the easement to have pedestrians in the same area where there was vehicles going to the project. And so we kind of came up with this idea that maybe these improvements, a pedestrian promenade and some other landscaping enhancements could be within the park itself, and to allow this more separation between the uses that would be beneficial to all parties. So I will let them present a little of those details.
Good evening. We met with Dean and his team, and we walked through this, and we developed this as we were talking about what this might look like. It was just a blank canvas, just what the easement was. This is a good thing for us to do to help get this project in place. You will remember, we probably had 4, if not 5 different developers looking at this parcel, and it's been very difficult to come to the finish line. With Dean and his group, they're willing to do this amenity for the public at all of their cost. We would ultimately end up doing the maintenance on it. And the idea on this is that we would have a bunch of native sort of trees. It's a native, I guess, in nature, but not all natives. I mean, it would just be sort of a more naturalized planting that would fit in with, Councilman Gookin, you looked a little confused when I said kind of.
There's
No?
someone walking in
Light,
the room
okay.
back there.
I thought you had a question. Okay. So, we've been working with Mark, their landscape architect. I've spoken with him on the phone several times. We have bench seating in these areas. This 27 is a proposed shade structure. And they also are creating public access in this area as well. So you're walking along the trail, you'll have an opportunity to come off the trail, and there's some seating here. They've done a nice job at screening the private development from the public component with these nice evergreens here. And so from the park's perspective, I think this is a very good deal. They are going to have to sever our irrigation on this edge, and they'll have to keep the easterly portion active. So they'll have to go in, we've given them the as-built, how to cap certain lines, keep the rest of the park active and green while this development takes place. And with that, I could take some questions or have Dean come up and talk about his portion of it.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say, I like this concept better. So I really appreciate what you and Hillary and Troy and Dean have worked out here. I think it's more advantageous to the public than what we had originally planned.
Yep.
And I know you, Bill, you're going to make sure that landscaping gets done just how we want it.
That's correct.
So
Yep.
I like it. That's
Good.
my only comment.
And
I'll do my best here. Thank you, council members. I'm sorry the mayor's unable to join us, but she's mayor. Thank you so much. Yeah, Dean Pape with the Chase Misk is very excited about this project, very excited to do another project in Coeur d'Alene. As a little backdrop, we did a project down the street bringing for rent product to this neighborhood. Currently, I believe we're the only for rent product in the neighborhood, which we're very excited to take our next opportunity to work with the city. Working with the team at the city, 2 members here have been amazing to work with. So being able to work around the state, kudos to this community and having really good people within the city led by a good group. So thank you very much. I don't know if I can add much to here. I'm not the landscape architect. I'm stepping in for him because he's unavailable to be here tonight. But I think this is a better solution compared to what we were trying to do before. A couple things to point out on this plan. The access way, in addition to being primary access to residents that would live here, it's not a public access to get into the building. It also provides fire access and emergency access. So the green area that still looks like a roadway, instead of what was originally planned, which would be a hardscape all the way down to the pathway, we're now going to greenscape that, but allow for emergency access along that roadway. So instead of it being additional hardscape all the way through, we're softening that, or our landscape designers and the team will soften that. I think it provides, a good buffer from the park area to the built space, but not so much a block, so easy access through. Then item number 20 is an access point for public access to come across from the park to a retail center. So our intent is to have an active restaurant retail space in there to provide more opportunity for public engagement from the park and the rest of the community. The change, Hillary mentioned earlier, the one thing that we didn't even think of when we started that was both a grade change on this property, but also a vision change with the access way being on the westerly side of the property. What you'd be seeing when you're actually coming upriver is a driveway and a wall because of the amount of grade change there. So this actually buffers it more with more landscaping that feels like it's a kind of a part or an extension of the park system or the greenway system along the river there, where the automobile access where it's currently located with the buffer from the park, we feel is a better use of the land, and us providing that buffered piece with all of the elements that Bill talked about and more that are not called out in here. And I'm happy to go through some other slides that are in more detail. I don't know which button to push to not screw this up.
Exactly.
We could probably just jump past this
Sure.
one.
Okay.
So this is probably a very key element, something that we discussed a lot with the Parks Department and with city staff in regards to what's really needed on this edge of the park. And a shade structure was one of those things. So 27th is noted as a shade area, but it's not so built that it just feels out of context. It actually has a good element to it. And then a lot of these, what you see is 2 and 25, these benches are actually naturally created, and we had some great conversations about how they could be created out of large pieces of timber, and some of the fun conversations we had were that may be something that we want to engage the park in on how that and what could be used in those areas for longstanding. I think the pocket park area was the next one. So as Bill mentioned, this lower right corner is that kind of pocket element. And what you can't tell in this picture is the elevation difference from where the 9 is and say the 3. What's underneath the 9 is actual underground parking. So no surface parking on this project. We actually are hiding all of it below grade, but instead of seeing like a structure there, we're going to use landscape to our advantage to really buffer that frontage so it's not a hardscape, but it provides a natural break from kind of public to private space without making it feel like there's a wall or a fence, with something you want to look on the other side. I'm not sure if there's any other elements in there you want to talk about.
The safe crossing, you already mentioned that, but
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
that
Yeah,
you will have
good
some
point.
bollards or gates for the residents.
Yeah, so the intent here with number 4 is to provide that public access way, but also make it safe because this is a driveway per se for the residents. So the intent is actually to have a barrier of sorts, so it's not easy traffic. You actually would slow down at that 20 point, at the 20 mark, so that traffic wouldn't be coming in and out of there frequently, and it really shouldn't, to be honest. It's 23 homes that we're creating in this neighborhood, this vertical neighborhood. But for safe passage, as some of us talked about, and having kids, it'd be great to be able to sit on this patio and enjoy a beverage, but be able to look across and know that your kids are in the play area in the park. So excited about taking these next steps and bringing this project to fruition, and I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Go back to the big one.
Okay, Dan?
So one of the things that I thought was really interesting was this piece here. This is actually, is it still what Mark and I talked about, which was going to be concrete?
Grass Creek.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
So we used it in McEwen where you can drive on it. So it softens it where, as long as you compact it correctly and you put these stones in place, fire trucks can drive on it, but it'll look like grass. Because there's pockets that
remember, yeah,
come in the
yeah.
grass. So it softens that whole piece. So I thought that was a really neat element that their LA decided to try and do to create just more of a softened effect without having so much asphalt.
Okay. And I think Councilman Gookin, did you have a few
Well,
more
I
questions?
just wanted to know if we still have 4 more slides. Did you want to go through your slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Just want to see if you had any questions on the concept plan. I guess the other thing to point out is there are bike racks throughout, which they've added in the different seating areas as well as close to the restaurant space. All right, we'll skip ahead on those. So just wanted to highlight the changes. So the one easement that has been recorded, that was the perpetual easement that allowed for that public access. What we have done working with Randy Adams, our city attorney, is to create a substitute easement that would replace that in essence and preserve the fire access and the stormwater utility, but remove the public access component. And so that's kind of the biggest thing with that. So it would replace that easement entirely. It would be on Area 13, non-exclusive, so it still allows for DeChase, the owners and their future owners of the units, to have the non-exclusive perpetual easement. And then, as I mentioned, it removes a pedestrian component from that. The next easement is new, and this is within the city's park, and it would be non-exclusive construction easement, so it would not be in perpetuity. It would just be during the time of construction of these amenities. It would be within parkland. We're not giving up any land, relocation of the pedestrian promenade, the shared path, as well as those amenities we talked about. And so that Exhibit B that you saw, the concept plan, is attached to that easement, and it allows the grantee to construct the improvements. So the financial and performance evaluation, just from the staff report, as noted, there would be no new or increased cost to the city. The development or all of the improvements would be paid for by the developer, so that's very advantageous to the city. And then for the performance analysis, the new concept allows for Area 13 to be developed in a manner consistent with the Atlas development standards, specifically no surface parking, activating both Atlas Road and the waterfront trails sides of the parcel with food and beverage operation, and 3, creating the additional residential units in the development. It also creates a pedestrian promenade that was envisioned in the original concept for Atlas Waterfront Park, but we weren't able to fund it at the time, so. That, the decision point recommendation is we feel City Council should approve the substitute grant of easement and the new parks easement. And with that, we would stand for any questions.
Well, I would just have comments that I during the time I was still on the Ignite board before Kiki and I kind of switched places on the library, and I remember this going through many iterations and with Ignite, and when I think, man, all of the engineering preliminary plans that were done on that, if you added them up, it'd probably pay for the place. But it's a very tricky little place, little, relative, but it's also a really key. So I appreciate that Ignite and our people and everything really kept that in mind, that really is a potential cornerstone of things. So I appreciate the effort that went into it, and I don't get to vote unless there's a tie, but it looks good to me. So, comments or motion to get
Mr.
into-
President, so I was looking over this because I remember when it happened last time, so I dug up the old staff report, and it looks like it's changed quite radically, but I believe that's all within rights. Because I got a letter today saying that they didn't like the density. And I remember last time I was mentioning about parking, but that's not on the table today. We're just talking about this new easement, and it doesn't need to be a hearing. It was a hearing last time because we're not conveying any property.
Right.
This is just a right-of-way, and so I can't see any reason to oppose it.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 25-049, approving easement agreements between Area Mill 13 Springs Development LLC and the city for fire access and stormwater maintenance in Atlas Waterfront Area 13 and for the construction of improvements in Atlas Waterfront Park.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and more discussion. Yes.
I just had one question. As this easement is being changed, and it's being used for public safety, is there consideration given to lighting that is in the walking path or that driving area?
Yes, the walking path specifically, that is one of the details in there. So there's the low-level boulder lighting that would be in the walking path area. I think I'm not sure if Dean could speak to kind of the driveway access area for fire, but I'm sure there will be some lighting around the building, but.
I'm just saying if it's more usable for the public after dusk to get back where they're
Yes,
going.
definitely
Okay.
that area would be
Thank you.
lit.
Okay, then, with that, I think we can go to the roll call.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin.
Yep.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
And it appears the motion has carried. So now, Resolution 25-050, approving a contract with Mars Company for equipment, software, and services related to recalibration of the city's water meter test bench through 2029, and a report with Kyle, our water director.
Good afternoon, council. Thank you for having me. I bring before you tonight discussion point, should council approve a contract with Mars Company for equipment, software, and services related to recalibration of the city water test bench through 2029. So try to stand over here so you can make sure you can hear me and hit the button at the same time. But so you guys have seen the water meter test bench. We brought that to you a few times. I want to do a little bit of history and show you maybe a little bit more of the process and how we use that system and what it's used for and why we need it. So when we go through the MCOP program or the meter change out program, what we do is we go out into the field and we remove the meters on a certain section of the city. We pull them out. They're due for replacement. They're reaching their lifespan. So we pull those meters out. We bring them to the shop. They end up getting stacked on a shelf. And they're tagged for the appropriate house that they're at in case we need to track stuff. As we move through that process, those meters are disassembled. Parts that we can reuse are set aside, parts that are disposed of or outdated are removed. As you can see here, we've got some older parts that we're getting rid of. Some of the older heads are saved for a time so we can track reads if there was a mess up on the paperwork, because as you can see, there's a lot of meters that got changed and they stack up there, and we go through those on a monthly basis and update the information. Then the meters, after they're disassembled, they're spread out onto a pallet. We clean them, we sandblast them, and then we stack them for repurposing and testing. Once they're cleaned up and ready to go, they go into our meter test bench room. So as you can see here, this is our meter test bench room. This is our smaller bench. This tests 3/4 up to 1 inch, or up to 2 inch, I'm sorry. And then we have a larger meter test bench that tests our larger meters from like 3 inch and larger. This is another aerial view of some of the tanks in here. All the tanks and the way we test these meters are through weights and measurements. So they have to be recalibrated on an annual basis to make sure that we are precisely measuring the amount of water going through the meter to bill the customers appropriately to make sure we're not overcharging or undercharging. These stainless steel tanks are all on calibrated scales that need to be annually tested and confirmed to make sure that we stay in compliance with our big giant certificate that's up here on the wall. Once they go through the meter test bench, they go through calculation through Mars Company that's certified through AWWA, and that gives us the authority and the ability to just test them to American Water Works Association standards, which all meters are across the board. So to rebuild a meter, we have to have it certified to make sure it's done correctly. So those are all tracked through this meter test bench. That's why this is so important. Then we reuse what we can on the materials and then rebuild the meter with the materials that needs to be replaced with. So sometimes it's the head or the battery pack, the register, or the internal components, the measuring components, and then it's put back all on this meter. This is a typical 1 inch meter. Once that is done, this is the outcome of what it looks like when we rebuild the meter. Then it goes and gets boxed and backed on the shelf or in the truck for redistribution in the system in the next phase of the zone. So this is a constant circle that we do year round. That's why that meter test bench is incredibly important. Once it gets back on the truck and goes out, we end up replacing those meters out in the field. And with that, with this contract, it helps us bring Mars back in to recalibrate the test bench, make sure everything's up to standard, and we're in compliance with AWWA to make sure that we don't have any issues. We also test new meters coming in. We take so many meters from a new stock of meters to make sure they're in compliance. We take any meters that are large meters for commercial entities. We test those as well. We make sure that those are within compliance to put in the system. We found a few that have not been in compliance, and we send them back to the factory, which is a large revenue loss for the city. So with the meter test bench, moving through this process through 2029 on an annual maintenance contract can greatly reduce the expenditures of the City of Coeur d'Alene Water Department with the meter test bench. With that, I will stand with any questions.
Mr. Gookin.
Thank you, Mr. President. Kyle, appreciate it. Appreciate the efforts to save the ratepayers some money. One of the concerns I have that I've noticed over the years is sometimes we will enter into an agreement, long-term agreement with a company like this, and then the company goes away. So what's your confidence level in Mars and that they will be around for the end of this contract?
Mars has been around since 1930-something and they make meter test benches for meter companies all throughout the world.
Okay.
So I have good confidence they're going to be around. They're selling more and more meter test benches. We've made agreements with them that they can bring in other water companies to look at our test bench and layout kind of as a sales pitch. They help us out with a little bit of discount sometimes at no cost to the city. So I have great confidence they'll be around for long term. The other aspect of this is with our great city attorney going through the contract, making sure that we don't put future councils at risk. There is a clause in this, if something happens, that we can always get out of it.
Okay.
So you're not locked into it for 5 years, but it does set us up to get the reduced rate from Mars, saying our intent is to work with you for the next 5 years and recalibrate this. But if something happens in that time frame, we have an escape clause.
Very good. Thank you.
You betcha.
So I guess.
Well, it's
at
not
point, I would
controversial, so I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Entertain a motion, okay.
Let's make a motion to approve Resolution 25050, which is approving a contract with Mars, the company, for equipment, software, and services related to the recalibration of the city's water meter test bench through 2029.
Second.
Okay, so have a motion and a second. Any final discussion? We're good to go, so roll call, please.
Gookin,
Yeah.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
And the motion carries. Great. And so the next order of business, approving extensions of agreement with Lake City Employees Association for 2 years Police Officer Association for 1 year, and approving an extension of the memorandum MOU with Captain Jeff Walther and Captain Dave Hager for 1 year with our, well, had staff report by Randy Adams, but we're, okay. But whoever, okay.
I'll be whoever tonight. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Troy Tymason here. We let Randy off the hook for a moment.
Yeah.
I'd like to bring to you a plethora of contracts for our employee groups. Since we put this packet together, the Police Officers Association has voted on this contract, and the Lake City Employees Association has voted on the contract proposed here, and they have both said they would agree to it pending your approval. So that's an update since your packet went out. Again, I'm going to start with the simplest one. How about that? So our police captains have a memorandum of understanding agreement. And we met 0 times in negotiating this, and so it took very little time. We actually did it over email, and they said we would be comfortable with what the Police Officers Association were negotiating, which is a 3.5% wage adjustment, also known as a cost of living. And that would be for 1 year. We'll move on to Lake City Employees Association. In this arrangement, the City of Coeur d'Alene was proposing to do a wage study during the time that this contract would be implemented. We need to, as a city, go out and take a look at the many positions that we have and look at our pay grades. It's been 8 years since we've taken a look at that, and it's time to drill down on that. We have wastewater operators that aren't equal to water operators when you look at the number next to it. So we're not going to go through the job description side of it. We're going to look at our pay structure and bring it up to speed. And Lake City Employees Association does encourage us to do that, and we basically bargained that we would go out and do that. So we will be bringing forward to you a contract as we negotiate it. We will be bringing together a group of people on the committee that will be looking at that with the consultant for your approval. It's in the financial plan. Number of reasons I'm excited to bring this to you tonight. Number one is, with your approval, we can get this into the pay. With our pay schedule, it would be in the pay that is received effective October 1. We need to get that in there the end of this month based on our pay periods, because our pay periods don't necessarily start on the first day of every month. So that's been good. So the Lake City Employees Association, we have tentatively agreed to a 3.5% wage adjustment in their contract for all folks. That obviously extends beyond that to those that are salaried as well as those that are not in LCEA. And then Lake City Employees Association was working very diligently for longevity. So we came to this agreement that when a person leaves the City of Coeur d'Alene on retirement, they're eligible for a portion of the sick leave that they have on the books. Right now, that is 1/3 of the hours, up to 720 hours. Our sick leave accumulates every month. So you can go above 720 hours in a year. So if you retired late in our fiscal year, you would have more than 720 hours in that. Well, that would be like taking those hours away if someone retired in the month of June, July, August, because our end of year is September 30th. So the thought here was to incentivize a person to leave some sick on the books. That is going to retire, so we increase that percentage to 40%, a slight increase. And then, because we can do this with VEBA, which is our voluntary employee benefit account that the city can put money into, the employee cannot put any money into it. It can be used for any medical expenses and really good for retirement. They opted to have us in a negotiation, put the first $3,000 of that payout at retirement from sick leave into their VEBA. And we can do that specific to the whole group. So the individual cannot put any money into that. The city would do that based on your approval. So LCEA is, they actually surprised your city administrator. They came back and said, well, this looks pretty good. We'd like to do a 2-year. So we said that could be positive, but we need an opener in the event that the economy falls apart or something else happens, wages, maybe there's no cost of living going up at all. I don't know what the future holds, but in this contract, we have a 2-year tentative agreement pending the city saying yes and not needing to go back and say 3.5% is something we can't do. So again, a tentative 2-year deal. The Police Officers Association agreement, we spent about 6 meetings. I have their lead negotiator in the back of the room. He's done a very, very good job. I say has because he is tentatively receiving approval to become a chief in a neighboring city at their next council meeting. And he did stellar work as he knew he was interviewing and going through the process to get that job, and yet held great negotiation skills. So they are willing to do a 3.5% wage adjustment across the board. In the event, or for promotional opportunities, especially from patrol officer to sergeant, sergeant to lieutenant, that would be a 10% increase for that individual. That would include the senior pay that they are eligible for. They are comfortable with looking at the wage study and want to have input on it. I'm proposing to you early that we'd like to drill down on the police department side of it and look at all the specialty pays that exist in there so we could compare to other entities. Part of the work for our HR director, as well as the group that's put together, is what cities are going to be comparables, and we would need to work on that. As long as we can keep it less than 10 or 12 cities that we're comparing ourselves to, the consultant's cost would not go up. You can imagine if we said there was 30 comparables, the work would just be multiplied by that amount. So a 1-year extension with them. We talked about the promotions, and then we agreed to lowering the service time adjustments for the non-sworn members so that it would match up with the Lake City Employees Association. Currently, they are at 9 years. That would move to 7. That's not a large number of people, but we knew that would come forward. This has been a very challenging summer for the city, so a survivor benefit came from the Police Officers Association. We definitely hope that this does not get used. However, we are proposing for your consideration that the city would continue the medical and dental insurance for those eligible dependents for 6 months in the event of a line of duty death. So again, the Police Officers Association provided this statement. They're willing to be a party to it and take a look at it, and we appreciate their inputs. I would stand for any questions you may have.
Christine?
Just comments. I'm really pleased to see this come forward. I just want to back up a little bit. Under public comment, one of our citizens spoke about, do we need to hire the best? As a former city employee, I say yes, we do. But that doesn't mean that we pay too much. What that means is everything we do up here as council and our administration is a value judgment. And we do want the best. We want the most qualified people coming to your home in an emergency, or whether it be with our Lake City Employees Association and all of their various duties. We want the best people. We try to stay somewhere in the market. We don't have to be the highest paid in the state, but we certainly want to be marketable. We don't want to lose employees. When you start to lose employees and become a training ground, cities can never catch up. It's just a continual hole that you fill with cash. And so I think that we do a good job of trying to be mindful of our taxpayers and make sure that everything we do is affordable, but our citizens still get very, very good service. I'd also just really like, I didn't get to say this under our comment because I hadn't picked up my mail, but I want to congratulate the police department for their reaccreditation. That's a very big deal. We have an accredited police department. Not every department in the state does that. Very few, in fact. And so it really goes to quality, and all of our employees are of high quality. So thank you for the work, and I'm glad this is coming before us to put it to bed.
Oh, okay. Vicki?
I was just going to say real quickly, this really reflects, I don't know how many meetings that you went through with negotiations, with you and your team, Troy, the whole group, many meetings with council, so it isn't just not that it isn't delved through and well thought out, and I appreciate all the effort on everyone's part to bring this forward. One quick thing, this was a little confusing, somebody asked me about it, is that why are the captains grouped in with LCEA instead of the Police Officers Association?
The numbers just happen to be the same at 3.5% for both, so they really aren't grouped. It just happens to be the same number for that. And of course, the captains are outside the association, so all two of them never met with me, so I'm really sore about that.
They're outside of the association is the answer, so they are grouped with a different,
Right,
at
it
the
just
same
happened to be the
percentage.
same dollar amount. So
Thanks
yeah,
for clearing that up.
you bet.
And Mr. Gookin?
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a question, Troy, on the LCEA agreement, and I'm on page 3 of 3. This is regarding the wage and compensation study. It says the LCEA may provide written input regarding the terms of the wage study and comparable organizations prior to the final approval of the consultant contract by City Council. Then there's a however. However, the terms of the wage study shall be determined solely by the city and the consultant. So my question on that is, who is the city?
The one that writes the check for the study.
So is this a person?
Go ahead.
Well, the contract for the wage study will be brought to council for approval. So
The governor.
it's up to council.
So it's up to council. So but the terms of the wage study. So my concern here, and I do have Brian from the LCEA here, who I might invite up to describe what they understand this to be, is that they want input. Actually, Brian, why don't you, if no objection, sir,
No,
if you
go
could
ahead,
come up and
let's-
tell us what it is you actually want from this clause so that we understand where LCEA is coming from.
Define the terms, okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, council, attendees, thank you for having me. So, for the LCEA, our input, we want the council to be able to see our input. You are the voice of the community, correct? You are elected officials. So we want you to see our input as employees of the community, and, you know, we understand that there will always be, financial obligations, and we look at ourselves as stewards of the community's dollar. So we understand there will be, we would like to work with the city on implementation and everything, and but we would like you to see any of our concerns or any of our input directly.
Well, and that's what we had a discussion before I put you on the spot, and that's kind of what I was getting. So I just wanted the entire council to understand where you guys are coming from, and what it is you want to make sure that your input is heard by us.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's a good thing.
Can I ask
Okay.
a follow-up on
Yes,
that?
yes.
Thank
Go
you. I understand, I missed the executive team meeting on Thursday. My apologies, but I understand that you did come before and talk about a committee, and that you will have a committee of employees. So I think that hopefully addresses any concern. Is that correct?
Yes, that is 2 associations, 1 union. We've reached out to the fire union for their input as well in looking at that. I think I'll probably keep the captains out since they're kind of on my list now, just to have fun with those 2. But yes, and then there'll be some staff. We've got some directors, one from wastewater that spoke up and said, yes, I'd like to be on that group as well. So I've got a director of human resources ready to work on that.
Good.
Right. Thank you.
Sounds like a good process, and okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to go ahead and make some motions here, And I think I'll do them in reverse order, just to let you know, Joanne, we're going to go off script here and start with number C. I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 25053, which is approving an extension of the Memorandum of Understanding with Captain Jeff Walter and Captain Dave Hagar for 1 year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? They said that's the easy one. Okay, roll call.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin.
Yes. And so then
And that
going
motion carries then, okay?
past, yes. So next we'll go to the one, Joanne, which is Resolution 25051.
Oh,
Make a motion to approve an extension of the agreement with Lake City Employees Association for 2 years.
Second.
so you made the motion second, and any other discussion? Okay, so we'll have a roll call on this.
Gookin,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller.
Aye.
So the motion passes, and
And
now on to the
back
third.
to the
Okay.
third one, which is to approve Resolution 25052, approving an extension of the agreement with the Police Officer Association for 1 year.
Second.
Okay, and any other discussion?
I do have some discussion.
Well, I wondered if there would be something
These
to
things were
this.
ordered in a reason. So I got to say, I attended the last negotiation with the Police Officers Association in the city. And I found it to be very civil. I don't know about the other ones because I attended only the last one. And from where we sit up here, it was very poignant to me what Mr. Haley said during the meeting. Obviously, things weren't going well, but I think, you're officer, right? You're not chief yet. Chief Haley said during the meeting, they left a few times because that's what happens in the meeting. One side leaves, the other side leaves. They got to talk and discuss things. And then he came back and said something that I won't forget, which is he said, this really isn't a negotiation because the police officers were giving, but the city was not. And those were not the instructions that came out of that room from council. I want you to know that. We would want people to negotiate for us, not to just stand firm. And you showed tremendous grace and wisdom by coming forward and saying, we know where we are. We don't want to go to fact-finding. We don't want to go to arbitration. So we're just going to agree, which is a capitulation. And I appreciate you doing that on behalf of the city, but also it just showed grace under pressure. Because I was frustrated too with what I saw as a lack of cooperation on the other side, which is my side. And therefore, I just want to say, moving forward, whether in a year, when this comes up again, whether I'm sitting here or there, I would like to see the city look toward outside resources to do our negotiation. And that's up to these people, all of us, but based on what I saw, that's what I think would be best for us. But I thank you so much for what you did.
Okay, and so comments, and we have a motion and a second, and so any other final comments? Appreciate the full discussion. So another roll call, please.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin.
Yes.
And that passes. And so we've done all three, so now I think we're on to public hearing, if I've got my agenda right, okay. And so we'll look to staff report by Katie on our final budget stuff.
Alrighty, oh, sorry.
And no public comments, okay, so, okay. signed up.
I'm
Okay,
so
go
surprised.
ahead.
Usually people want to comment on the budget. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you so much. Council members, usually I come to you with some new material, but we have talked at the previous, actually back in August at length about the amended budget. Just to recap, the amendments are items that have come up throughout the year where appropriations were not in the original budget, and that's just how it is operating a city of this size. And so going through the legal process of appropriating those funds is to approve an ordinance for a budget amendment. And so in my staff report, as well as the last presentation, I went through all of those amendments in detail. I would just stand for any last minute questions, if there are any.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Thank you. I always have at least one for you, Katie, but I think it's an easy one. I think now you're able to finally tell us what we used out of the fund balance for FY25.
So that's a great question. When I run projections at this point, the best projection I can get is pretty solid on payroll. The other areas of the general fund have to do with the larger ticket items, have to do with, for example, overlay projects, as well as some of the construction projects that are being wrapped up. Some of those invoices can be quite large, and the rules for governmental accounting is that the expense lies in the year where the service is performed or the goods are received. So it can get kind of tricky if we have a large order of, my previous roles, large order of computers coming in after the fiscal year ends. Those would be expensed to the new year. And in that situation, it would be, talking about carryover and amendment in the next year. So at this point, I try to have a reasonable margin of error when I'm looking at reporting out a number, and I don't feel like it's the most reasonable margin of error, but I'm going to go ahead and share it anyway. I am looking at going into fund balance about $3.5 million for this fiscal year, which is less than what was projected of $4 million. So that's good news. Of that, we're going to see that we have planned dips into fund balance. I believe 1.4 million is going to be our wrapping up the expansion project of the police department that was planned to come out of fund balance beyond our ARPA funds. And the other one that would come out of fund balance would be replacements and the rebuild of the police department support services building. So beyond that, we would see an additional 1 million, it's looking like, is going to be coming out of all these other items that had come up over the year. The main one I'm looking at, typically we like to see some savings in wages and benefits. Those are not looking like they will shake out like they do typically, and that has to do with the constant staffing in the fire department. So hopefully that is a cost that we can move away from in the future, but it has been a real cost, and it has offset the savings that we see throughout the budget. But we do have some departments that have savings. Police department is always a big one, given the size of the department and also the difficulty keeping all those positions filled. But if you take the constant staffing cost and you also look at some of the other items that came out throughout the year that were unbudgeted, we're looking at a dip of 1 million, which is much better than the ongoing deficit that was reported last year, about 2.2 million. So better shape, but we're still, running a deficit for our operations.
Well, I really appreciate that, your detailed response, and I don't know if later on in the year you come back with the final number, but I appreciate what you've done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gookin?
Thank you, Mr. President. Katie, so this projection so far, and I noticed you included the latest numbers in your report. Will we get a final number, like, when it's all done, like you said, that would account for anything that happens in the next 2 weeks?
Right, so the audit is when we would have
The
the
audit,
numbers
okay.
that are, we've looked through, we've combed through to make sure that all proper accounting procedures were followed with every transaction, and that gives us our true finals. And I am making it a goal to have that done much sooner than prior year, so.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, just this has been, for the public's awareness, I mean, you see some of these things at our meetings, and you might read an article in the paper about some workshops, but incredible amount of time and effort has gone into making this the very best that we can. So appreciate the work, and it's always nice that we're not, quite as, bad as the scariest projection, so that's good. I also, just backing up a minute to the contracts and things we approved, I appreciate that we have that in time for people to get their raises at the next most, expedient time. So, I think our finances are doing pretty good, and appreciate the effort of everybody. So, to keep things moving, I guess entertain a motion here.
Well, here's an
to
entertaining motion,
dispense.
Mr.
Okay.
President. I would move to dispense with the rule.
Did we open the public
there's a
meeting and
hearing.
close the
Oh,
public meeting?
We are such
Yes.
amateurs.
Yes, so you were supposed to keep, okay. So I will declare the meeting for public comment open. I did not have anybody sign up, but I see a few friendly faces. Anybody else want to sign up at the last minute? Otherwise, then I will close the public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. And we usually, it's on the script, so usually. I would make a motion to dispense with the rule and to read Council Bill 25-1018 once by title only.
Second.
If you will read the title, please.
251018, an ordinance amending Ordinance 3734, the annual appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024, appropriating the sum of $142,902,349, which sum includes additional monies received by the City of Coeur d'Alene in the sum of $3,523,206, repealing all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, provide for the publication of a summary of this ordinance, and providing an effective date hereof.
Okay, and Mr. President, we did not do a roll call on that. We needed to do a roll call.
Let's see. Well, it's not.
There was a motion and a second, but no roll call.
Okay. Roll call. for the
Miller,
last-
Aye.
Gookin,
Aye.
Wood,
Aye.
Evans.
Yes.
Now,
Motion
I need to
passes.
ask
Good.
our attorney, do we need to have her read that again since we approved it after she read it?
No, we can dispense with that.
Thank you, sir.
Well, we appreciate your forgiveness. Okay. And,
Now I will make a motion, assuming that we're still doing things okay up here, to adopt Council Bill number 25-1018.
Second.
Any other discussion? We're good on that, so roll call on that.
Miller,
Aye.
Gookin.
Yep.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
And the motion passes. And so now I will really entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good job.
Boom. Okay. Oh, made it. Okay.
And you didn't get them all.